Warning: the following video is rated M for mature audiences. Parental guidance is recommended for viewers under 15 years.
In 1996, Capcom released one of the greatest survival horror games of all time. It defined the genre it was creating. From the minds of Takura Fujiwara and Shinji Mikami came Biohazard, or Resident Evil as it was known everywhere else. The original game sold over 2 million copies on the PS1 alone, a huge success and the birth of a franchise. For the sequel, a more action approach was taken but still held fast to the first game's roots, adding in new enemies to avoid, new setting, and 2 characters to play as. The following year, Resident Evil 2 was released again to critical acclaim and quickly became a classic. As time went on for the franchise, the games moved more towards action and moved away from horror. At first, with Resident Evil 4, this change was welcomed, and with the game being released on several consoles of the time, and still to this day ported over to current gen systems, and now most recently the Nintendo Switch. Resident Evil 5 and 6 focused even more on action and lost a lot of fans and some critics. There were some survival horror resi games during the action era, some underappreciated, as well as a complete remake of the original Resident Evil in 2002 for the Nintendo GameCube, then later ported to other systems in HD in 2014, and most recently the Nintendo Switch. The remake was well received and is still played to this day. A Resident Evil 2 remake was also considered for the GameCube as well, but Shinji Mikami wanted to focus development on Resident Evil 4. So that plan was scrapped, and in 2015 we got confirmation that a remake for Resident Evil 2 was in the works. That was then later unveiled at E3 2018. Capcom finally revealed a photorealistic remake of Resident Evil 2 using the RE engine that was used in Resident Evil 7. The hype was very real and infectious considering how long we had to wait. 2019 could not come sooner. It didn't take long for this remake to get high ratings from gamers and critics alike upon its January release. Capcom had won back the fans. Now, I'm a bit slow and I've recently just played this game, and wow, I loved it. Resident Evil Remake has a very soft spot in my heart. I loved Resident Evil 7, played that all the way through as well, and unfortunately I never really got to play Resident Evil 4, and there's a whole bunch of other Resident Evil games that I haven't played. So this game was my first real dive into the franchise's roots, and what a dive it was. The first compliment I can give this game is its visuals. Holy shit, the visuals! The RE engine really shines here with its photorealistic rendering. I thought Resident Evil 7 looks great, and it does, but nothing compares to this. Watch that opening cutscene with the truck driver. I thought I was watching a film. The rendering is knuckin' futz. This detail and quality doesn't really deteriorate in gameplay, with transitions between cutscenes almost being invisible. This game is also very gory. Remember when Left 4 Dead 2's dismemberment tech and gore was considered the best of its time with its zombies? Well, Resident Evil 2 makes that game look like sunshine and rainbows. Look here, that zombie has shat his pants. The lighting is fantastic here as well, with most of the game being very dark and using shadows extremely well. Compared to the original Resident Evil 2, where areas such as the police stations were brightly lit as if the city had just stopped at the time of the outbreak, here the city is in chaos. You feel like you need to get out as soon as you can. This, along with the fantastic soundtrack, sound design, and real-time binaural audio, is fantastic for horror games. There's tension, unease, terror, and the ambience is scarily accurate. The soundtrack is sparse, allowing ambience to really shine through with lots of silence except for the environments the characters are in. Even the safe room, while comforting, still feels uneasy. Even playing with the original soundtrack that you can buy as additional content, the game is still eerie and creepy. The original soundtrack worked well for the fixed camera angles and creating fear. Couple it with the remake and it still works. The classic title callout was fantastic.
Resident Evil 2.
Why they removed it in the remake soundtrack, I don't know. Enough about the visuals. What's the premise of the story? Raccoon City, 1997. A viral outbreak has occurred, turning residents into unstoppable zombies. The police were unable to stop it, leaving the city an apocalyptic wasteland. Claire Redfield is a biker and college student who's looking for her older brother Chris Redfield from the first game. After stopping at a gas station, she notices the station is not very populated and near silent. Claire investigates and witnesses the death of an officer being eaten alive by a zombie. During her escape, she runs into Leon S. Kennedy, a rookie cop who is also on his way to Raccoon City for his first day on the force. They get into a police car and drive into the city, where they are blocked by queues of abandoned cars that were heading for the police station, the last safe zone for people to go. They are surrounded by zombies and can't get out of the car. The truck from the beginning of the game is seen barreling towards them and it crashes into the police car. Claire makes it out of the burning car just before it... Oh shit. Leon?
Claire, you okay?
He's okay, everyone! Claire needs to get to the police station in order to hopefully find Chris, but it won't be that simple. Along the way, she'll meet some side characters like Lieutenant Marvin Branagh, a young girl named Sherry Birkin, Police Chief Irons, and Annette Birkin, an umbrella scientist and Sherry's shitty mother. Serious question, Annette. If you are so against people obtaining the virus you helped create because it could endanger the world and your daughter, why not, when you had the chance, get out of the city with Sherry instead of leaving her with that bastard Irons who almost likely would have killed her? I mean, look at him. Leave her to die in a garbage dump after she gets infected, then still be resistant to give her the cure to the virus that you gave her the key to unlocking. I swear to God, Jesus Christ, you were the worst. Ugh, sorry. Anyways, on Leon's side of the story, after escaping the police station, Leon meets Ada Wong, who works for the FBI. Her mission is to find Umbrella and Annette and confiscate the new virus simply known as the G virus. FBI? In that dress? Yeah, okay. Leon must help Ada find the virus and bring Umbrella to justice. The way I've just described Leon's and Claire's story is the order in which I played. Claire first and Leon second. However, you could easily just go Leon first and Claire second, meaning that Leon meets Marvin instead of Claire. Both characters also meet each other in the police station and again in the labs, leaving memos for each other depending on who does the first run. They do tend to fight the exact same bosses, but they do have their own unique final campaign boss. Leon gets his own on-rails running section from old mate Poop Croc in the sewers.
Chew on that.
Did he just say, chew on that?
What a pleasant surprise. But I'm afraid it's Ashley we need. Not you, Mr. Kennedy.
If you don't need me, then get off my back, old man.
Oh, Leon. Never change you. You... sexy Kennedy! Also, after completing the first run, you realize something is still lurking. Holy shit, what is that? Unlike the original game, which used fixed camera angles, tank controls, and pre-rendered backgrounds, the remake goes for Resident Evil 4's control style of third-person, over-the-shoulder perspective. But unlike Resident Evil 4, where you had to aim and be completely still, you can actually still move, and it's tight as hell. Not once did I feel the controls were fighting me. If Leon and Claire got into trouble, it was completely my fault. The game also goes back to starting you off with a small inventory that you can upgrade to be bigger, just like Resident Evil 7. Starting off with very little inventory spaces forces you to be strategic and makes finding hip pouches an absolute relief. The small inventory also means that you'll probably be going back and forth between safe rooms a lot to deposit stuff you find into the almighty, universally connected item boxes. I love you, item box. These boxes can hold anything you need to store away while you explore more and obtain items. Having them being universal also means that you can retrieve an item from any box in any safe room and not need to find the safe room you originally placed the items in to grab what you want. However, even if you have the biggest inventory available, management is still critical. As you go along in the game, you will receive new weapons and weapon upgrades, making your weapons more powerful at the cost of taking an extra inventory slot. These upgrades can also be detached at any time if you do not wish to be backtracking often. Carry full upgraded weapons and backtrack more, or get through the game quicker with weaker weapons. The choice is yours. The weapons are also different depending on if you're playing Claire or Leon. Claire can end up with a grenade launcher, minigun, the spark shot, and the machine gun, which can totally kick zombie ass compared to Leon's flamethrower, shotgun, magnum, and handgun Matilda. Claire really gets the better weapons here. Enemies also add the importance of survival as the zombies are bullet sponges. Ammo is limited on a standard run, and even more so on a hardcore run, so make every shot count. A zombie doesn't go down with a single headshot. Except for that one. Most of the time it will take 3 to 4 shots to the head to down a zombie, and even that is temporary. The best course of action is to aim for their arms and legs to slow them down or to stop them grabbing you and breaking through doors. In case you were in a really tight spot, you can find flash grenades and combat knives, again limited to save yourself at the last minute. Combat knives have a durability, allowing only 3 to 4 defensive stabs before the knife is broken. If you stab a zombie, you need to down them in order to retrieve the knife. The original Resident Evil 2 introduced lickers to the franchise. Fast, mutated zombies, they're incredibly hard to outrun and extremely hard to kill, and that has not changed in the remake. However, if you just move past them slowly, without sprinting, you can get past them because they are blind. That still doesn't mean you are safe from them, as they wander unpredictably, and you don't want to run into them. There's also some other enemies in the game. I do not wish to go into too much detail, as well as one new enemy having a Ridley Scott alien type feel to them exclusive to this remake. There is one enemy, however, I've neglected to talk about. An enemy so strong and so persistent, you can never escape him. Tyrant. Also known as Mr.
X gon' give it to you. Fuck, wait for you to get it on your own. X gon' deliver to you.
This super strong zombie trenchcoat milady bastard will follow you everywhere in the police station once you trigger him. He doesn't go down easily and doesn't stay down very long. It doesn't matter what you're doing or where you are, his footsteps are always present. He will always find you and kill you if you do not plan where you are going. Got a puzzle you need to solve? Tough!
X gon' give it to you.
Stop. Let me address something here. Yes, Mr. X is extremely shit your pants terrifying at first. At first. But he quickly became a pain in my ass. Every time I tried to do something as quietly as possible, he always seemed to find me. Somehow, if I shot a zombie, he took longer to find me compared to me just wandering around the station. Maybe this was more to do with my bad timing, or not hearing exactly if he was above or below me, I'm not sure. And considering he pops up a lot in Claire and Leon's campaigns, more so in Leon's, his fear factor just plummeted for me. The scariest enemies to me were the lickers. Your main bosses consist of one person, William Birkin, who helped create the G-Virus. After being shot by mercenaries, to save himself, William infected himself with G and began mutating rapidly, becoming an unstoppable monster. Birkin has 3 main forms you'll fight, each stronger than the other, with the second being a unique fight relying on environmental awareness. This is my other gripe with the game, the Birkin boss fight. Sure, he gets a little bit stronger and the fights are a little bit different, but nothing really changes. Resident Evil Remake had a mutated plant you were fighting, or a snake, or even a shark. Resident Evil 7 had Jack, Marguerite, and Evelyn, and they all had extremely difficult abilities, and even Lucas did as well in the DLC of Resident Evil 7. Birkin doesn't have really any of that. That being said, the final boss fights at the end of each character's run, and the boss for the true ending, are fantastic. They're completely cathartic and satisfying. They're badass as hell considering the hell the characters have been through. Alright, so, Resident Evil 2 Remake is a great game. If you're wanting to get into the Resident Evil franchise, you can definitely play this as your first game, or even your second. This is a definitive starter game for the franchise, along with the first Resident Evil Remake. There is enough value here with this game. I got at least 30 hours of game time on the main story alone. I know there's a 4th Survivor mode, Tofu mode, and a free DLC, Ghost Survivors mode, which I will definitely play in my own spare time. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've just completed the S+ ranking in hardcore mode for Leon and Claire's campaigns. I've got a very special gift to give someone. Ah!